How you going? Take two. Forgotten issue. I wanted to have a chat about government legislation. Sorry, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. And because I work alone a lot, I get to have a lot of time to think. When I have time to think, I try and analyse the world we live in, see where it goes. So my first part of this discussion is about vapes, cigarettes, drinking, whatever you want to do, whatever your business is. Now, the government's trying to put legislation in about vapes at the moment. Their argument is that some person in the Anti-Smoking Commission said, it's going to undo 10 years of our work of stop people smoking and get us down to 10% of Australians smoking by 2050. Well, that's a hobby I choose to do. Me personally, I say leave it the hell alone. Give a shit what you think about what I do in my hobby. That's what I do. I'm sure some of them like a drink of alcohol too. So, for them to be coming down on vapes and cigarettes, more so than alcohol and drugs, it's got to question where their alliances lie. Like drink driving and domestic abuse, alcohol-fueled domestic abuse, drug-fueled alcohol, domestic abuse, drugs in total cause so much abuse, theft, crime, it's all related. So these things here do harm really to me. Drugs, alcohol do harm to not only you, but sometimes to the others around you. And yet you treat this like it's the end of the earth. Or you treat tobacco like it's the end of the earth. I've never known someone who smoked a cigarette to go violent over the cigarette. Maybe missing out on a cigarette after 25 years of smoking, maybe they might. But generally, if you walk down a road and there's someone smoking, the worst that'll ever happen is someone will ask you if they can have a smoke. That's about it. But alcohol-fueled violence and drug-fueled violence is a lot worse than any tobacco or vape. And yet, they focus in on the lesser evils and they go, but smoking's bad for your health. Oh, really? Like, shit. Oh, like I didn't know that. But so is everything else in our world. Drinking alcohol bad for your liver. I know a guy who's got a failing liver. He goes to dialysis 3 times a week because of it, because he was a big drinker. So maybe you should crack down on alcohol. Not that the people drinking are going to be liking that idea. Then you got drugs, that affects your nervous systems, your neurosystem, and livers and kidneys and hearts and everything. But you can't seem to do anything about that one either. In fact, you're going to decriminalise them if they get caught the first time with them. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's probably the worst of all evils. So you've got those factors to account for. And in accounting for those factors, it comes back to one thing. It comes back to government. Now, the same discussion came up with the cost of living. Again, they blame the government. But realistically, when you think about it, it's not the government. It's us, you and me. And the reason that is because a vast majority of us vote for the Maroons or Blues, like voting for football. And as long as you vote for Labor or Liberal every single time you do, because that's who you vote for, as long as you do that, nothing will ever change. The only way to send a message to our government that this is bullshit is for people like you and me to knock your vote off and send it to some bugger who doesn't even know he's going to be elected, but he's putting the effort in to try. Not associated with any party, just an independent who's trying to do the right thing by his family and his friends and his community, and just wants to get in there and give it a go. So vote for that fella, because I reckon if you got a few of those fellas into politics, I reckon you'd shake up Parliament. I reckon you'd put them on notice, because one of those major parties be gone. Simple. Not voted in at all. They would become a minority in the House. And then you got the argument, do you keep the dragon, or do you find a new one? Well, if it's okay for our governments to impose problems on other countries to topple governments, then I think it's only fair that it's okay if citizens here vote differently and change governments, but not to the standard two. The standard two are not the end and be all. Big business votes for Liberal and average workers vote for Labor. It's just how it is, and depending on what your father tells you about who you should vote for as a young person, then he'll go, oh, you got to vote for this mob because they're for the worker. You got to vote for this mob because they're for business, they're for employment. But realistically, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about you and me. We're just numbers. Pay packers for the tax roll. That's it. So, realistically, if you're going to vote, you probably really should do some research, because at the moment, politics doesn't give a shit. And that's a problem. Politics doesn't give a shit about you or me. Politics doesn't have to give a shit, because if they're not elected this term, they'll be elected next term. It doesn't matter. Better be in opposition than out of a job, right? That's what the politicians say. So, knowing that, the power's in your hands to change what our government's doing and their behaviour. But to do that, you have to do a big change. We pretty much have no choice but to vote against a party and wipe them off the map. Put another party in. Well, it doesn't matter if you vote Greens or One Nation, or me personally, I'd go for the most independent person I can find. But because he's a genuine person, they're a genuine person, and they're going to be working best for their community and best for their social grounds of where they're living. So, you can get a lot of investment of government into your area by just getting one of your people elected. So for me, I wouldn't be voting for any party, because Labor and Liberal are a coalition. Liberal's probably the absolute powerhouse in politics over Labor, because when Labor ran out of money for their campaign, the Liberals picked up the tab and put in for it. Then you've got One Nation, who's Liberal-sided. I know they like to say they're not, but you've only got to look at the list of people employed. It's very Liberal-sided, and it's very Liberal-modelled. I know, because I've been in it. And since they've been on, they've really turned towards the Liberal mind of thinking. And the way they run the party is very Liberal-modelled as well. So, as much as the first One Nation, before I was on a committee and voted the boss back, that was a different boss. Back then, she was for the people, but you saw what happens when you're someone coming into politics on good agenda, on good terms, on a good name, and they basically fry you to a deep fried chicken. So you end up bowing to the system, because the system is nothing more than a meat grinder. So when you see that kind of stuff happening in our politics, the only real way that I can see of fixing it is to flush it. And to flush it means you can't vote for any of them. You can't do a non-vote. If you do a donkey vote, you're voting for the party that's in power. So a donkey vote's not the effective way. You really need to do your research and vote for someone who is completely independent from either party, has good morals, good sense of direction, and isn't interested in making deals, just interested in doing the right thing by the people. And until voters start to see that, unfortunately, we're slaves to them, when realistically they should be working for us. Everything we do is answerable to them, when in fact everything they do should be answerable to us. It's all backwards. And you never know, maybe this new generation of youth who really are rebellious in many ways, maybe that's the generation that'll be the turning point. Maybe that's the generation that'll actually have the nuts to stand up and do something about it. Well, let me know what you think. I'm just a dumbass tradie putting my opinion out there, so let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to hear. I'm not bashing any particular political party. I think you've all failed us. I don't think any of you have done the right thing by any of us. There's nothing that's being said in Parliament at the moment that's not being said by the people outside, except for the reduction in crime, which is being said in Parliament, but they don't do nothing about it. And then you've got just a lot of other rubbish that's just fogging up the warpath. So for me, I think that the next election I'm going to vote for is someone who's completely independent. I'll do my research and find someone. If there is no one, then what can you do? You've got to go for the lesser of all evils. So you find the lesser of all evils in amongst them, and maybe good justice will come out of it. But I'm only one vote, so it probably is totally irrelevant. But, it's worth a conversational point. It's worth putting out there. Let me hear what you think. I'd love to get 500,000 views and likes on this subject, and maybe we can start looking at getting a petition together and petitioning the government to stay the hell away from what we decide to do and start focusing on more serious things like youth crime and domestic violence and drink driving and drugs and all the stuff that is really messing up our society. Because I know one thing, is they messing up shit. So let me know what you think. Put your thoughts down. If you got anything you want me to research, let me research and I'll get back to you on it for sure. I'll do another YouTube on whatever you want me to research. Just put your subjects down, I'll find out about it and I'll get back to you. Okay, thank you all, bye. Like and share if you can. It'd be great to get the likes down to get a petition started for this stuff. Okay, thank you, bye.